Now we'd like to move on to part 4 of the webinar. And I'd like to introduce Nick Weber. Nick is a Cloud Services Program Manager for the NIH Center for Information Technology, and he's the lead representative for the NIH STRIDES initiative. He tries to make it easier, cheaper, faster, and everything else for researchers, so he's a researcher's friend. He's going to present to you information on how to use the STRIDES program to help with your research.
Great. Thanks, Deb, and thanks, everyone. So first off, kudos to all of you for all the progress you've made on this important research program and research domain and the launch of the Knowledge Portal. So excellent work to you all, and hopefully the program that I lead, the NIH STRIDES initiative, can help provide some value to your program and to your constituents in the community to make sure that they're able to make the most use of that data as possible. So today, I only have 3 slides, and I know I'm the person standing in front of the end of the webinar, so I'll be brief. Happy to answer questions both online and offline, though. But I hope to answer the question of, okay, what can I do now that my $300 of Terra research credits may have run out? Are there other ways that NIH can provide for me to get access to the ability to use cloud resources, cloud funding, et cetera, perhaps with a discount, to be able to do my analysis on platforms like the AMP PD Knowledge Portal and in Terra and on Google Cloud. So I hope my answer is yes to most of you, and I'll describe how in my couple of slides. But the main thing I want to mention is that the STRIDES program is a couple of partnerships, I guess I'll say, with commercial cloud service providers. So far there are 2, Google Cloud and Amazon Web Services, and I'll give some background about what led us there and then talk about how people can take advantage. So you see on the slide here that things that Dave mentioned earlier. A lot of people are moving to research on the cloud for a number of reasons. It provides resources that are scalable. It makes it very easy to share information and data with people who are distributed in our team collaboration environment that we have right now. You have access to the latest tools. You don't have to worry about versions of data sets. So there are all these benefits, and allows researchers to focus more on their analysis, their research, than focusing on where are they going to do it, what infrastructure do they have to have, those sort of things. So cloud can be very beneficial for biomedical research. But I'll also caveat it to say that it's not a silver bullet solution. It's not just something that's going to solve all the research problems. You really have to make sure you're thoughtful about how you're organizing and managing your data. You're thoughtful about how you provide access to others, especially if it's sensitive, controlled access data. You have to be smart about making sure your data are reusable by other people. So that's what platforms like Terra are really help designed to do. Workflow engines, consistent ways for people to share exactly how they got their data from, kind of the initial whatever format and information was there to their derived data sets. So I really applaud the MPD program for initiating and implementing platforms like that to enable people to focus on these other important aspects of research. So again, STRIDES is a set of relationships with a couple of commercial cloud service providers so far. We hope to have more partners in the future. And if you move to the next slide, I'll describe a little bit about what we try to do with STRIDES. I didn't move along. There we go. A little bit of a delay. So STRIDES has a few aspects that I like to generally highlight that are available to the research community. So if you are at NIH or an NIH-funded researcher, you can get access to the following benefits. First, we've negotiated on behalf of NIH and NIH-funded researchers and institutions extramurally cost discounts, which are lower than market rates for what you would pay if you kind of got your credit card out and paid for Google or Amazon. And they vary based on cloud service provider, and they vary in some cases based on the actual service, whether you're using, for example, BigQuery or Google Cloud Storage that was mentioned earlier. And these discounts are available, the rates are available if you're eligible for STRIDES by reaching out to the kind of partners that we work with, Google and Amazon, and I'm happy to provide you those contact information. They'll share with you their respective rates that are kind of proprietary to their organizations. There's also access to a couple of other things. So generally people first think about, okay, I can do more work with less money, so the discounts are really important. But what I find is that these other 2 things that are STRIDES benefits are also providing a lot of value to those research programs that we're supporting today. So the second one is professional services. This is kind of access to the talented engineers, consultants, data scientists, et cetera, that exist at these companies, at Google and Amazon. And you're probably not surprised to know that they can hire and pay and retain some of the best people better than we could do here at NIH, in many ways better than many other organizations can do, because they have the resources to do that. So we're able to tap in to those knowledgeable resources that know their platforms the best, know how to use their services that they built. And that's really something that I think is beneficial about the STRIDES program, is having those direct relationships where we wouldn't otherwise have easy access to do that. And again, this goes for both NIH and NIH-funded researchers and institutions. And then lastly, training. This is a critically important part of making sure that the research community is comfortable making a transition from the way that we've done research for decades past and work with our data locally to how we do that on the cloud, and how we work with what you saw people doing today: launch virtual machines, run an analysis in BigQuery, and write a script to shut down resources whenever you're getting close to your budget. These are new things for the research community to understand in many ways. So we provide access to training both here on campus. We're doing trainings regionally. We're doing trainings associated with workshops for people to be able to understand how to use Google and Amazon and other cloud-based resources to facilitate this transition. And again, those are components that are available through the STRIDES initiative. So my next and final slide is the how slide. So this one gets a little bit into kind of the funding process, I guess I'll call it, or the payment process. So bear with me here. There's two different versions, two different paths. Both are equally viable. So I'll just describe the two of them, and hopefully one of these makes sense to whatever position and perspective you're coming from. So on the left-hand side in blue, this is where an NIH Institute or Center, IC, it pays directly for the cloud resources that are being used. So this can happen for both intramural or extramural programs. So what happens is NIH puts funds on the existing STRIDES award and says, these are the programs, these are the researchers who can draw down on those funds. NIH is invoiced directly for that use. The institute or center or the research program doesn't have to worry about any of the payment. An institute or center like NINDS might put money on. They may say, we're going to pay $100,000 for a given program or a given researcher, and then we just draw down on those funds and let them know what their balance is. So that is one path, and that's being used pretty regularly with multiple ICs here internally, again, for both intramural and extramural programs. An interesting kind of variation on that left-hand path is another credits model. So you've heard the Terra credits model. GRI, the National Human Genome Research Institute, is also working with Terra. They've also piloted a credits program where they've provided some funding set aside, and they've been able to allow some of their researchers to get access to hundreds of dollars, or in some cases thousands of dollars, to use in Terra or to use on Google Cloud Platform by that money that they've set aside through that left-hand funding path. So that's a path that's available in some cases, depending on, again, your position and perspective. On the right-hand side is if you're an NIH-funded researcher coming from a research institution. If you have NIH funding, you're eligible for STRIDES. You're eligible for the discounts that we've negotiated and the other things that I mentioned in the previous slide on benefits. And the path to do this is slightly different. It is establishing a payment relationship and a way to pay the monthly invoices that you'll get from the cloud service providers between, I guess, the research institution and the cloud service provider. So in this case, you see on the slide, Johns Hopkins University, which is a funded research institution here at NIH, that could establish a way to pay a business relationship with Google Cloud. So once that agreement is established, any and all NIH-funded researchers at Johns Hopkins University who would like to use Google Cloud resources and have NIH funding would be able to set up their cloud accounts and be able to pay for Google Cloud from their NIH funding. That requires some accounting on the research institution's behalf. We help with that. We provide regular billing support, those sort of things, information on how much each research or each project is costing. But essentially, once that billing relationship is in place, Johns Hopkins, the institution, would pay the monthly consumption bill for the one or many researchers at Johns Hopkins that are using Google Cloud for different projects. So that's another path that multiple research institutions have gone down, and it's available, again, if you have NIH funding. So those are the two kind of ways for folks to get access to Strides. What's not on here and probably should be is our group email distribution list. So for anyone who has questions or would like to learn more or to see which path may be better for them, you can email us. It's pretty simple at strides@nih.gov, and we're happy to help facilitate conversations and help you understand what may make the most sense if you're interested in going down this path and getting benefits, getting access to the benefits like discounts, training, and professional services that I mentioned before. So that's all I have, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Nick. That concludes our webinar today. I hope that it's been informative for everybody who's listened and stayed with us. If you have any questions or come up with further questions, please contact us through the AMPD portal. There's a Contact Us tab, and we hope to be hearing from you and seeing what wonderful uses you put our data to. Thank you.